It's funny because do you have like a leg? This is more comfortable for me than this.
Well, I have like a flexibility problem where like this leg is like less limber.
Pliable.
Yeah, pliable than this one.
Interesting. Yeah, I think like my hip flexor.
Yeah, I think that's it. Because like if I go this way,
this side.
I feel like I'm like.
You're straining.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
I'm like up here, you know?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, man.
I think we're ready to start.
Okay. I didn't know if we had started or not. I'm just talking. So
just getting warmed up.
Okay. So this is, are we doing
a good conversation is like tuning a guitar. You have to kind of get everything and then it goes. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So Pat May. All right. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have a special guest, someone that I've known for quite a while, Patrick or Pat May. Welcome, Pat.
Thank you, Jordan.
And this is your first podcast you've ever done.
Yeah. You could say that. First official, like cameras,
lights, cameras, action.
Amateur, semi-professional. This feels professional.
It's amateur. It's in a house.
It feels
There's
professional.
A tree right
you
here.
got 3 cameras, dude. It's legit. So
I
like what you're doing.
Only the best for Pat. The red carpet.
This is a lot of fun. It's great to catch up with you, man.
So let's give the audience some context. How do we know each other? How are we so comfortable? How are we so friendly with each other at this point?
Yeah. So Jordan and I were in the same neighborhood down in Lehigh.
Not Draper.
Yep. Yeah. Lehigh, Point of the Mountain. That was what year did you move into the neighborhood? Because we moved in end of 2014.
I think we were like 2015 or 16.
So you were right after us, and then we were there for We just
copy what you do.
Yeah, we were there for 4 or 5 years, and then jumped up here, and you guys followed us shortly after.
Well, so here's what happens. We're like in a meeting one day, and you go, Jordan, you got to see this property I found. And he pulls me aside, and he's like, "You've got to see this." And you get on the whiteboard, and you got chalk, and you start drawing out this weird shape of a plot of land. And you're like, "All right, Jordan, 2 words: mountain life." You said it just like this,
like I'm some salesman for.
Yeah, and I was like, "Tell me more." And you're like, "All right, so you're gonna."
Well, you're a mountain biker, so I knew right away you would appreciate the vibe of, because the neighborhood wasn't developed yet over here in Hidden Canyon.
So you were like one of the first people in that new part, right?
Yeah.
So and I had no idea this was even really. I knew there was like mountain biking and stuff because I was coming up here, but I didn't really think about living here.
Right.
It wasn't something you could do.
Exactly.
Like we were living in Lehigh. That's where we lived.
That's why I was so hyped on the prospect of moving up here. It didn't seem like a real possibility, but when that opportunity presented itself, I was like, dude, we gotta look into this. My wife thought I was crazy.
I remember she saying Pat's got one of his crazy ideas again.
Yeah.
He's hunting snakes and he's got this going.
Which if you ask her now, she'll tell you, dude, if she were here with us tonight, she would say it was the best thing we've ever done.
We should have Kelsey interview her, do some.
I'm sure she would do it for Kelsey. She's
right over there.
Yeah.
Also, the tree's more
Tawny
decorated.
Loves Kelsey.
Yeah, look at that tree.
It looks great. Yeah,
it's a running joke.
Yeah,
nicely adorned.
We've had multiple. It actually broke. Like half of it wasn't working in an earlier part of the month. We fixed it.
It looks awesome, man.
So Pat and I were in 2016. I think 20. It was like 20. I want to say 18. You were telling me this.
Okay.
Right? And you were like mountain life, and
sounds right. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, and you start showing me the diagram of the land, and you're like, it's gonna be the best thing ever. We put our house on the market and everything. And at that point in time,
I was probably trying to recruit you up there with.
Yeah, it's like no one lived there. You're like, I want people to live there. You gotta come up there, Jordan. And then you were like gone.
Yeah, I know. It did happen fast, I have to say. Well, and long story short, I guess that's the purpose of this time here together is to go into maybe the longer version of the story. But,
I would love to. I mean,
we ended up. It made a lot of sense. We sold the house, and we lived with my parents for a few months while our home was being built.
Because it was brand new. It was.
We did the whole edge. Go down and select your the colors and whatever the kitchen elements and all that. So we lived with my parents in Salt Lake for half a year or so while it was being built, and it took longer than they they took like 5 months longer than they said they were going to. So it ended up being a little bit more of an extended stay than we anticipated. But
was that because of any reason, like the weather, or is it just?
It was being built during the winter, and then there were like some supply chain, like we got to wait on this, that, or the other, and then actually, to be fair, we asked them to add on like a little piece of the the back porch. Okay. So that did kind of extend it like 2 months. But anyway, yeah, man, never looked back. Lehigh was nice. It was fun while we were there, but ultimately, yeah, it was the right move for us.
Yeah,
we've loved it.
And Lehigh was a good place to like. It was good for like. In my personal opinion, it was good if you didn't have kids where we lived. It was a great like strip of it was an area close to everything. It was really optimally. It was a great location, but it had like its downsides, like a lot of traffic, a lot of transient people living there. Like people didn't want to stay. We were owning the homes.
Yep.
We were a couple of the only homeowners there, and the rest were renting, I think, or a large portion were. Which I still love the neighborhood. I haven't been back in a long time, but.
That particular neighborhood, it definitely like, just truthfully speaking, we were kind of adjacent to that apartment complex, which had some like low income government housing, which was great because it gave us an opportunity to rub shoulders with people that honestly, just humble people. A lot of we had a bunch of immigrants and people that were just trying to get under their, get things under their feet.
A lot of diversity,
And it was amazing because we, like, Tanya and I got to use our Spanish all the time, and we, but then like we noticed
Tanya speaks Spanish.
She speaks Spanish. We both speak Spanish.
Wow.
But we started seeing we started having, we found a couple needles like behind the house on the road.
That, yeah.
And then our trailer got stolen off the side of the street. And like it got to a point where Tanya and I just said, like, we were on the corner there and we were like, dude, we can't live here anymore. So and cars would come whipping around the corner, and we just thought, man, all it takes is one day for our little kid. Sorry, this is starting out on kind of a
it's a good reason.
Note,
it's what establishes Suncrest as a place to stay.
Yeah, it really
the contrast.
It really drew us in for just kind of this secluded nature of it. Like this is a place where people. It's one thing I love about Suncrest is it's a quiet place, and people kind of respect each other's privacy, but there's still a strong sense of community. Yeah. So it's like you have really it's like you have really introverted extroverts, but that's one way to put it. It's like people that they kind of like the mountain quiet life, but they like want some neighbors and friends. So
then they'll go shredding on the slopes, and they're crazy skiers or something. Like this person's like super calm, and then they're shredding down a mountain. Yeah,
I think it draws that kind of person. Just generally speaking, I mean, obviously that's a huge generalization, but I think a lot of people fall into that.
Right. Yeah. And you've been up here for how many years now? It's been
6 years, man.
6 years. Dude.
Yeah. Yeah, just about
like that. 6 years.
It's crazy. Yeah. We were one of the first homes over in that development. So
how did you find it? I never asked you how you found the plot of land. What's the story?
Yeah.
You like came in you're like, Jordan, look at this, but I never asked where you found it. You're just already moving ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of looking at another edge development, and then it was kind of cool. I was on the phone with one of their reps, and she was like, "Hey, I'm not really supposed to talk about this yet because it's not like officially on the market, but
sounds like a sales tactic.
You should consider." I know. Maybe it was. Maybe I'm a sucker. But no, actually, it was legit because. Well, it was legit because that rep was like going to quit the next week, and she was like, "I'm not supposed to say this, but I'm leaving. So you guys should look at this development. Like only 3 homes are even available to buy right now, or lots." And so anyway, I kind of like dug into that and found out about it. Like they didn't even have the official lots spec. Like they had well, they had lots spec'd out, but it wasn't. It was I got like a draft in an email. Like it wasn't even the official marketing. It was like, hey, just so you know, this is
like copy and pasted.
Yeah. So I kind of like the second that they became available, I think like 2 other people had deposits before we did. It was like.
So how did you know so fast that was the place to buy? Because you hadn't really lived here before. Did you visit here at all?
Dude, it's honestly, so this is going to sound kind of whimsical, but like I'm
here for it.
I just always, a lot of like big decisions in my life have just sort of come together, like come into fruition, just kind of almost seamlessly. It just sort of materializes, and it doesn't always make sense on paper, but like in my gut, I'm just like, oh, this is the path I'm supposed to kind of follow into. And so
it's like a force, like a magnetism pulling you in.
Yeah.
Or like it just like everything.
And I'm sure a lot of people can relate. Like I think the universe has a way of sort of like corralling you into kind of your destiny. Universe. And I think you have to resist it pretty strongly if you want, like, if
I like it when you met Tawny, I'm guessing that happened.
Yes.
It happened to me with
100%.
Kelsey. I was like, this is the person I have to be with because I can't explain to you why.
Yeah, everything just, and I'm not saying it's always easy, but just like the path is just cleared and you're like, okay, we're doing this. And until I get an impression or a gut feeling to do something else, I'm just going to stay on this path and it flows. And that's kind of what happened. That's what happened with marrying Tawny. That's what happened with deciding to, initially definitely deciding to live in Lehigh. Like I felt like we were directed to that. And then even more poignantly moving up into Suncrest, it just, everything just kind of flowed, man. Yeah.
And so you've been here 6 years now. And are you more in love with it now than then? Or are you happy with it?
Yeah.
Like, where are you at with like the decision now? So 6 years ahead, because when we were living in Lehigh, it was around the same timeline of time, interestingly. So you kind of have that same amount of time here. And is it a longer term commitment?
Yeah, I think the short answer is, we love it more every year. Yeah, it's just, especially like, it's funny, driving up the hill, everyone always comments like, oh man, you got to drive up that mountain. And I'm like, I get to drive up the mountain and look down in the valley. Like my drive into work and then home up the hill, it's amazing, dude. Like I just decompress, look out and see those peaks, and it's so nice.
What I love is like, depending on my mood, I'll pick which road to drive up.
Oh, really?
So sometimes if I want to feel like that like feeling of excitement and energy, I'll do the Salt Lake side.
Oh, nice.
Because it's got kind of like a race car type feel, but it's also got that you're taking off in an airplane over the city. And you look to the right, like, I wish I could keep looking right. Oh, I could stay on the road. But then the serene, like, backcountry road of the Utah County side, if I want to relax and unwind, that's such a beautiful road.
It's great, man. Yeah. It's great. We love it more every year. Tawny never wants to leave. It kind of sucks because I'm like, there's so many places I think it'd be cool to live. Like I would love to live abroad for a couple of years.
Really?
You know, I'd love to go live in Costa Rica or Europe or something like that.
You are kind of a traveler type, so we'll have to get into that. You have a kind of a knack for things like that.
I enjoy it, man. The world's a cool place. There's a lot to see.
Yeah.
There's a lot to see.
So like you're a really curious person. As I've known you, you've been a very curious person by nature. You tend to,
I think so.
To get like, you find something, you learn about it, you become an expert at it, then you want to share it with people. But like there's a whole history of Pat that I don't know that well, and it's like where you were born, like where you grew up, like where. Sure. So let's roll that back. Like where are you from, Pat? So people that meet you, like where do you hail from?
Yeah, I'm a Utah guy. I was born in St. Mark's Hospital.
Okay. And we're going way back.
Yeah. We're going to the beginning.
We're like coming out of the clouds. We're floating out of the
We won't go any earlier than that. But no, Salt Lake.
You grew up in Salt Lake?
Yep. Grew up in Salt Lake. I went to Bonneville Elementary, Clayton Middle School, and then East High School.
Wow. Did you enjoy all those areas?
Yeah,
like you go back?
It was great. My parents live in like they call it the Harvard Yale area. There's some big, beautiful sycamore lined trees, and kind of over by the zoo.
Oh yeah, the older part of the so they've been there for a long time.
Yeah, like my parents' home was built in like the 20s or something.
What drew them to Salt Lake?
Years old.
Are they from here too?
My dad's from Georgia.
What?
My dad is from Georgia. Yeah, he's one of two kids. like kind of rural Georgia. Went to a military academy, and then my mom is from Salt Lake, so he came out to go to school and met my mom, and they got married, and then so I'm the second of 4 kids.
Second oldest. Okay.
Second oldest, 3 boys and a girl, and
girl's the youngest.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, she's the baby.
What's the age gap between your older brother and you then?
So he's 17 months older.
Really? Do you know I have an older brother that's 14 months older?
You do?
I'm second oldest.
I met him. I met him
you
once.
met Jared?
Yeah.
I haven't met your brother though, have I?
No, probably not.
Is he here in Utah?
Yeah, they're all in Utah.
So your second oldest,
my 2 brothers are in Salt Lake. Well, they're all in Salt Lake, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Cottonwood Heights and Sugar House area. So
really? So 4 kids growing up in that house since you were a kid. Mm-hmm. And they're still there. Wow.
Yeah, we had Thanksgiving dinner up there. And then my wife's parents are from Orem. So that's another.
Where's Orem at?
Orem's. Oh yeah, it's like, dude, come on, dude. Yeah, so we're like, we always say we're equidistant. Like my folks are 30 minutes north, her folks are 30 minutes south. So we go to family dinners every other Sunday.
You do?
It's great, dude. We never cook on Sundays.
You don't have to buy groceries.
I mean, we'll help. You know, we'll go to their house and help a little bit.
They're gonna watch this and start asking you to do it at your house.
Yeah, well, we help more at my wife's parents. But my parents love to cook, so we just like show up and they've got this big spread. It's amazing.
Really? I'm jealous. That's cool.
It's nice.
So it's only 30 minutes into Salt. Yeah.
I mean,
to your parents' house.
If there's low traffic, it's like 36 minutes. I've timed it, But
during like the week rush hour, it's like an hour.
Dude, I do my very best to avoid jumping on the freeway after 5 p.m.
What's crazy to me is how often we aren't in rush hour traffic living in Suncrest.
Yeah.
Because we go down the hill and we kind of evade the point of the mountain traffic.
Yeah.
We usually
I take back roads. I don't even get on the freeway coming home from Linden. I work in Linden.
Even if it takes longer, I'll take the back road because it feels like you're at least doing something.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
So high school, so as you're growing up in Salt Lake, you get involved in activities of some kind. I know a little bit of your history. There's some skateboarding in there. That's like an area I know that exists. That's a big part of your life. But what was happening up to that point? What led you? Were you taking different sports? What was your interest back then? When you were a kid?
Yeah. I mean, I think my parents were the typical like, get your kids into different types of sports, see what they like. I'm in that same like process right now. It's
because your oldest is
she's 8. She's really excited to play basketball. She's like kind of into soccer. She doesn't like tumbling, even though she's a great little. She's got like all this coordinated. She's so coordinated. Really? And she's really agile, but she just like, I don't know, she's not passionate about it yet. But anyway, so they were kind of having me do.
I like the tangent. We gotta get it back in, dude.
I'm gonna go on a lot of tangents.
You're like the dad on the mats. Come on! I don't know if she doesn't like it.
If any of my friends, if any of my friends ever watch this, they'll be like, "Oh, dude, there goes Pat down like a rabbit hole." So, but then at work, I have to be the guy that's like, "Hold on. Get out of that rabbit hole."
They're all in the hole. Let's get into this hole.
Yeah, exactly. It's a constant struggle, but no. So I did t-ball and then basketball, soccer, and then I started doing football. But I was a little late to the game. Like all my buddies that were good athletes were like on the A team, and they're
all better in front of each other.
They're all really good athletes, and I'm like I was also young for my grade, so I never really like broke into the. But I was like one of the best players on the B team, and then I would. But it just kind of, I never really got super into, I enjoyed football, but I started skateboarding.
So skateboarding, what got you into it? Was it like a
neighbor friend?
A friend was doing it. And you were like, I'll do that and play football? Or was it
it was kind of funny. I was sort of like doing them both concurrently and I started getting better at both, honestly. Like I as I played football longer, I would get a little bit better, and but then skating, it just came really naturally to me. I don't know why. It's funny because I don't consider myself to be like a super athletic person, but I'm pretty coordinated, and I've learned this now. Like I know this now about myself as a 35-year-old. Like I'm pretty self-driven when I care about something and when I enjoy something.
You'll push through the not fun part of it to get to the last 10%. Yeah.
The thing about skateboarding, I know it has a lot of stereotypes associated with it, right? But say what you will about it, it's like I don't know if there's another activity that teaches you like perseverance and tenacity more meaningfully than skateboarding. Because it's like the amount of times you have to practice a trick to get to the point where you can execute it comfortably and consistently, especially the more technical the trick, it's hundreds of times, maybe thousands. Like
and
it's
injuries.
And in the process, you're experiencing all these injuries.
Yeah.
And it's like you can get derailed so many times before you even just learn that trick that you've wanted to learn for months or years.
Yeah.
And so it definitely taught me a lot about, like, I have kind of a stubborn personality in that regard. Like if I want something, like I'm just going to keep trying until I'm either forced to quit or
Because I skateboarded as well. Yeah. And I remember when I first stepped on a board on the coping and there's a quarter pipe. And you had this moment, I believe, where you have to make a decision. And it's a big decision. Are you going to drop in or are you going to wuss out?
You're on the precipice.
And like there's so many times in my life I'm like, just drop in. Just drop in.
Send it,
drop in. Like the moment you do it, nothing makes sense. But all that feeling of it locking in is just such, and once you have that first drop in on a skateboard, you're chasing that feeling of success for the rest of the time you're doing it.
Bingo.
And it's injuries, but it's such the dopamine high is so high with skateboarding.
It is.
It's nothing else like it. Yeah.
It is, and maybe in that sense, I think it would probably be accurate to say I have maybe a little bit of an addictive personality. Like
you like the dopamine.
I like the dopamine. Sure, I'll admit it. Like, but there's something to be said about like working really hard, falling, and falling and falling, and then finally obtaining. Like when you finally land that trick you've been wanting for ages, dude, what a rush! You know what I mean? It's
like an art form, honestly.
It really is.
And if people like that don't understand it, they'll watch ice skating in the Olympics and be like, "Wow, it's so fluid and beautiful."
Right.
It's just as like skateboarding is harder than ice skating. Way harder.
You could make that case.
Yeah.
and I think the reason, and it's become more mainstream, it's become more socially acceptable. But I think there are a lot of negative cultural aspects associated with skateboarding.
Sure. Yeah.
Drug abuse, vandalism. Dropping out of school, like.
But look at you now.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, look, dude. I'm a very, I'm not a typical skateboarder.
You're an atypical.
Well, and I'm 35. I don't. For the audience that doesn't know me at all, like I don't still skateboard very much. I could get on a board and do some tricks for sure, but I'm like, dude, I'm not in great shape for skating. Yeah. My knees are. My joints are creaky. My back is more rigid. It's just like I'm not. I peaked at probably 22 years old. So you abandoned. We're kind of jumping around,
but this is good. So to give insight, you had at that point there was a fork in the road where you had football and skateboarding, and you had your brain is in both.
Okay, yeah, you're bringing me back. This is good.
But this is a good exploration of why it's important to you because you were starting to learn that with both. But the one was more rewarding. What was creating that? What made you abandon? Like, it was a big moment for you, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, I just kept getting better and better at skating, and it got to I had some buddies that were like, "Dude, you should drop out and move to California." And I'm like, "I'm not gonna do that."
Are these skateboarding friends?
Yeah. Well, luckily I didn't listen to them. No, I mean. Sometimes I want, like in the fantasy worlds where you play out, what could have been. Like I think
playing Tony Hawk and there's Pat May as one of the characters that drops in.
I don't think I had that much ability in me, but I definitely think if I had truly done that, I could have gone and maybe become pro and done some things. But
and then be 35 now and being like, oh crap.
I don't know. Yeah. No, I love my life and I don't regret, not doing that. So, and it was just a fun period. But so like I kept getting better and better. It got to the point I broke my collarbone
in high school.
Throwing a football in Goblin Valley, actually. So that
in Goblin Valley.
Yeah, that's another rabbit hole. But it kind of derailed my junior. Like I couldn't play football my senior year
at all.
And so I was just like.
It was which collarbone was it?
This one here. And
Are you left-handed?
I'm right-handed. So I tripped in a ravine and landed.
Ow.
Really,
Okay.
Landed awkwardly.
The goblins got you.
They got me.
Yeah.
So I got to the point where, long story short, I ended up like getting on the back to Mountain Dew. We were talking about Mountain Dew earlier. I don't know.
So how does Mountain Dew get in the mix here?
Yeah. So I got sponsored by Mountain Dew, right? Yeah. That's what I'm. Yeah. So I was like on the.
So how did that happen though? You woke up one morning, I'm now sponsored. That's not how it happened.
No. Yeah. So my cousin's at the time boyfriend was involved with like the editing of the videos that they would do for the Dew tour.
Dude, that's sick.
Yeah. His name's Bus Couch. His name is Bus.
Bus Couch?
He got run over by a bus when he was a kid, and so he has a little bus tattoo. What? They call him Bus. His actual name's Dustin. Shout out to Dustin Couch. But yeah, so he found out, she told him that her little cousin skated, and he was like, well, isn't he any good? And she showed him, a little video, and he's like, dude, I want that kid.
Did you make the video yourself?
No, but no. Well, they came to the they took me to a skate park and we like filmed some stuff. Bus and his buddy.
He was like stoked on you skating. So
and he came and he got me like.
Do you still have the video?
It's on YouTube.
Dude, I'll put it in. Everyone watch this.
Oh man.
This is him.
Oh,
Do you hear the music?
My name's Pat May. I'm 18 years old from Salt Lake City, Utah, and I'm a skateboarder. Come on. I've been skateboarding for 6 years. One of my buddies on my street got me into it. I got my first skateboard when I was 12 years old. The best part about skateboarding is progressing and enjoying it with friends and fellow skateboarders. The hardest part about skateboarding is when you get injured and you can't.
It's so funny, like hearing my little 18-year-old self talking and
thinking about a trick. Kind of helps me learn it, kind of helps me get it in my head and then implement it through my skating.
I've got my like boxers hanging out in the clips and stuff, it's pretty classic.
Are you drinking Mountain Dew in the video? I haven't seen this video.
No.
How do I find it?
I'll send it tonight. But
You're trying to keep it.
Yeah, it's like fun to show friends, but it's kind of embarrassing for.
Should I not put it in here?
Oh, I don't care.
I'll just make a screen recording.
I don't know who's even going to watch this. So if they care, they can.
The 20 people following.
Yeah, like we've been droning on about skateboarding for like 10 minutes, and they're like,
I'm having a blast.
All right, next episode.
Yeah, I'm honestly loving it.
Me too, man. It's good. No, it's fun to talk about skating because it's kind of like in the archives. It's not really like
it's in the vault.
I think about it all the time.
You do.
Like, so
right, you go about your day. You're like, remember that time I was skating? Like you think that, right? Like even tomorrow.
Dude, you see the world very differently when you're a skateboarder because everything is a possible obstacle.
Playground. Yeah.
It's a playground.
Yeah.
I joke because we'll probably get into like snakes and wildlife and stuff later, but I joke because like I see the world so differently than the average person, and for better or worse. I'm not saying I'm special. I'm just saying I'm unique in that. Like I see the world through the lens of skateboarding and also through the lens of like wildlife habitat. So everything is interesting to me. Like
you could be in the middle of a city.
Whether it's an abandoned building out in a certain type of ecosystem or a structure in downtown Salt Lake that has some cool features. Like everything is interesting to me.
So you like mentally like shooting videos like, imagine get a drone of this, and then like the guy comes off the rail, like, and then you're seeing it, and then like there's 100%. Music. Yeah, that's a great way to live.
So yeah, dude, got onto the Mountain Dew team, and then like
that was because of the video. He like showed it to them, and they were like, "Sign him up."
Yeah, Paul Rodriguez, the skater, came through town and picked me over this other kid to get on the team. And honestly, he should have picked the other kids because the other kid still skates. Like he's into it.
Well, what did you feel like how old were you when that happened?
17.
So was that surreal? Yeah. I mean, that's that's like having like an angel come out of the sky for a 17-year-old and like bless you with something.
Oh, it was,
and then be like anointed to do that.
It was
like you're like that's like impossible. That's a dream.
It really was surreal. Yeah, I got like these VIP passes to the Dew Tour and got to meet all these pro skaters, and it was kind of this weird like I had a family member in an airport across the country when they were doing the Dew Tour in Salt Lake, and like they played my dumb little video on national TV like during the Dew Tour. It was like, here's a local skater, because they took a skater from each stop and added them to the team. So
what
it was fun.
What were your friends? So how did your life change? So was there like a shift in your life? Because it became a defining part of your personality for, I'm imagining, X number of years, right?
That's a good point.
Like, because you were Pat May, unknown hobbyist skateboarder, then you were Pat May, documented professional skateboarder. Because that's a true thing, right?
Yeah, I think like
That's
in my
rare.
high school, kids knew I skated.
Yeah.
Like I was good enough that it was kind of like, oh, he's a good skater, you know.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. And I guess you could say it was a big part of my identity, but I just loved it.
Yeah.
Like, I just had so much fun doing it, and I would make videos of my buddies, and it was just so.
So
fun.
if you didn't get sponsored, it would still be the same Pat, to a certain degree.
What you say is true. Like, it was a big deal for me, but it also like skating for me transcends any of that stuff. Like, it just
That was a side effect.
it was just a bonus, like cool experience.
Okay.
But I guess people still bring it up and joke about it, you know. So
Yeah.
I guess it is.
I bring it up because I find it fascinating because it's a rare thing, you know.
Yeah. People, well, and I was gonna make this comment, this joke earlier. Like, I am not a typical looking skateboarder. Like, I'm a white middle-aged Mormon dad from Utah. Like, I don't really fit the typical profile. But at the same time, I think like more and more pro skaters are kind of starting to, you know, they become dads and they become businessmen, and it's not as like taboo. Before it was like a lot of skateboarders were, you know, anarchy to the system.
They
and
get in your face like, what do you think we're doing at our skate park, you know?
Yeah, and now I think skateboarding has been embraced more as like as an art form and as just like
a pastime.
It's an Olympic sport now.
Yeah.
I think it's just a lot more recognized as like, okay, the guys that are really good at this have some serious talent.
And I think people that got, in the 90s it got really popular. The 2000s it was huge.
Yeah.
And I think like snowboarding became kind of something that dads do, you know.
Right.
And skateboarding, it's not something that dads do, but it's something that is acceptable for them to do because we grew up doing it.
Yeah, I definitely think it's more so that way now.
So
it's fun.
So you still have a deep passion for it. You still love it. Do you still follow it? Do you follow the scene much, or is it kind of changed a lot from when?
Kind of passively, yeah.
Okay.
I still like when a really good video part comes out.
Yeah.
Like, I'll have a couple buddies that'll text me and be like, "Dude, did you see the whatever part?" And I'll go watch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still kind of sometimes daydream about it here and there.
You do. What does the daydream consist of skateboarding? What does it look like? Let's enter the mind of a.
I'll just think of like a trick that I think looks really cool, and just imagine myself doing it down like a rail or a ledge or something, and then
Because you're a street skater.
and then poof, I'm back to reality.
And your kid's screaming, "Oh crap!"
Yeah, and my kids don't really. I don't like talk about skating a ton with them, but I'm curious to see if my son, especially my sons, will see my videos and start wanting to do it. But honestly, I'm okay if they don't, because it's so much, dude.
Took a little bit of toll on you. So talk about the did it have an effect?
Oh,
on
I've
your-
broken tons of bones. I snowboarding, like this scar on my lip. Don't zoom in on these cameras on my, but
they're so zoomed in.
Scar
It's
there,
like,
scar here.
That's from skateboarding?
Yeah, I scraped the skin off my nose. Like,
oh my.
Scraped this, just cheese grated it on the sidewalk. Like, you can really get hurt skating. So like it's not for the faint of heart, man. It's.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, skating and snowboarding. I've broken 15 bones. I've gotten over 100 stitches. Oh yeah,
that many
multiple
injuries.
ER visits.
Because I'd fall and get like big bruises and stuff, but I didn't break anything. So I must have not been trying hard enough.
Well, either that or you're just like more cautious
Stocky.
or more skilled. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's not. It's not easy on the body.
What was the hardest trick you ever landed in? So what was this was the peak, this is the thing I did. If I look back in my career on this thing, that was it. That was the one thing that I'm like, man.
There was a big four stair, like a, like amphitheater style. The big where
ones.
people can sit on the steps.
Yeah.
Like an elongated four stair.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a hard flip down it. And it was, I had to go back a few times. Like I couldn't get it a few times. I had to keep going back.
You have it on video?
It's at the end of one of our skate videos. Yeah.
You send it to me. I would love to see it.
Okay. Sure.
Because like this is the thing.
Yeah.
Because like
that's kind of like that's the trick that sticks out to me the most as like, oh man, I'm so glad I got that one.
What and like you had the option to kind of go vert or street, or you always stayed street on your. There's two realms, right?
I always I enjoyed some of the, like, they call it trans. Now this term.
Everyone, cover your ears.
Transition, like ramps. Now I don't even know if they still call it that. Maybe they don't. It's like not politically correct, but yeah, it's like transitional skating, with ramps and quarter pipes, half pipes.
Kind of a flow with like.
I always enjoyed that stuff, but I always gravitated to rails and ledges.
Which I find the hardest, because it's like you're like falling directly onto cement. You fall on a transition, you kind of slide down this concrete slide. Yeah,
generally speaking, I think I just loved, like, the feeling of riding away from a good trick down a rail or a ledge, or just a technical trick even on a flat rail or ledge. Man, that's fun. So you're making me want to skate.
That's what I'm saying. There's an energy, like it's like you can feel it, like it's tangible, like that passion. But that's what I'm saying. You have a passionate personality, and that makes people want to do stuff with you, and like so like. That I'd imagine that the guy, when he met you, this guy's a better skater because he's more passionate about it. The other guy might have been good, but not as passionate, and that I think sold more Mountain Dew.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
We need Mountain Dews.
They got me hooked. Now I'm the consumer.
The long game was well played. Yeah. But they have a lifetime.
They got a lifetime client, a lifetime consumer in me.
So that happened. So you said till 22, so 17 and 22, you were pursuing that heavily, but did you go to school or did you?
So I got into the Mountain Dew team at 17 and then turned 18, and then like 7 months later I went on an LDS mission. So I went out to North Carolina for 2 years. Yeah. And
was that hard to step away from?
It was.
All that progress, and you're like, burn. So you did school, you did college after.
Yeah.
That wasn't common back then.
Yeah. I just had the ability to go. I actually turned 19 in the missionary training center down there.
Really?
Yeah, so I was able to go a little bit early, and then, but yeah, I mean, it was hard to leave behind the skating, and.
Did you ever, like, your first day out walking in the field, were you just like, that rail, that, or the MTC, or like this staircase?
Oh yeah, there's some good rails in Provo, man.
You'd have sermons about skateboarding. Guys, gather around.
There's some rails on the campus down there. I was like, dude, I wish I could just have one session. Just
a little tech deck you make out of the paper and glue, and you're doing it on the desk.
Yeah, it was hard, but it was fun. Yeah, enjoyed my mission. 2 years out in North Carolina.
Okay.
And then I learned Spanish. I learned Spanish on my mission. Yeah.
Okay.
And then came back. Actually continued skating, and I would say I peaked after my mission. It took me a minute to get back into it, but it's kind of like riding a bike, dude.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of muscle memory, so I got back into skating and became the best.
Were you still sponsored at that point, or did you lose the sponsorship?
I had like kind of a local board shop hookup, but I didn't have Mountain Dew.
So the Mountain Dew one was gone.
No.
They said, you're going, you're gone. Like they said that to you?
They hooked me up with a bunch of stuff, and then I left, and they're like, okay, good luck.
Wow. How did that feel? Was it like kind of like saying goodbye to a good friend you never see again, or? Kind of. Yeah.
You could say that, I guess, but it was just moving on to a new chapter.
Okay. But like the desire, the gut feeling to move forward, it was overpowering that. It was like, okay, the next thing, mission.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely like, for me, I knew that I knew that was the right next step for me. So I went and did that, and came back, kept skating, eventually started going to school. I don't know if this is amazing. I'm just flowing, so you tell me if you steer me a different direction if you want.
It gives people great context to talk to you, because they're like, oh, you did this or that. I don't know these things. You're telling me stuff I don't know.
Yeah,
like it's like I'm meeting you for the first time.
It's kind of fun to recap, and honestly, if no one else watches this,
at least you have.
I'm not great at journaling. I am pretty good. Like I post stuff on my Instagram account, but like
I'll give you the file.
This is great. You're giving me this is like the recap of the first 20 years of my life. So you're welcome, kids.
It's like the trailer of to get to the movie, right?
Maybe one day I'll actually like write a autobiography just for my posterity. I don't care if anyone else reads it.
This is like an interesting read. Like if this were a book, I'd be turning to the next page still.
It helps that that you like skating. It helps that we have and Jordan actually came, dude. We skated at the Lehigh skate. You filmed a little montage.
Really crappy montage.
Yeah, and I struggled, but
I struggled. I was like using a GoPro.
It was fun, man. I remember that day. That was good.
That was fun.
It took me forever to land that backside lip slide, but I finally did it.
I think I brought the absolute wrong skateboard to the park. It was like a penny board, and you were like, "Bro, what are you doing here on this thing? You're embarrassing all of us." And this kid on a scooter like rolls up. He's like, "What's that?" And then you're like, "I don't know this guy." And he like rolled off and hit a rail.
That's not really what happened.
That is what happened. When I rolled up on the little board, he was like, "Bro, we got to get you figured out."
That's so funny, man. I was probably just teasing you. That skate park.
I still have the board. It's stupid.
That skate park is pretty challenging. Like
it's pretty big. Yeah.
It's kind of a weird flow, but
yeah. I don't know if it's well designed or if I'm just bad. But
there's some cool stuff there, but it's just hard to like. It's so crowded every time I went that it was just hard to get into rhythm. But
dude, this is not a corridor.
I don't like it when anyone's around. Like when I'm trying something, I want to be like alone.
Yeah.
I don't like little kids being like, "Is he gonna fall again?" I'm like, I don't want you guys talking about how me.
Yeah, it's lots of little kids.
I haven't done it in years either, so yeah.
Well, you've convinced me just in the course of this conversation. I'm gonna get out of. I've been thinking.
Let's go. Let's both go.
My problem is, okay. This will be the last thing about skating.
Okay, and then we'll move to the next chapter.
My problem is that it's the same problem with snowboarding. Like how I get these scars and broke the same wrist twice. Is that I like gravitate to the danger. I gravitate to like what's the risk and I get myself in trouble, man. So like as an adult with 3 kids now, it's like. I know if I go to the skate park, I'm going to want to push it, but I really shouldn't. Like, I'm not in great... I don't have a lot of time to be... I don't do CrossFit. I'm not some, like, ultra cardio guy. Like, I'm not in great shape to go out and do the stuff I used to do. And so I kind of almost have to, like, remove the danger. Like, I just don't go because then I won't get hurt.
I think you have to rediscover it.
Yeah.
I think you have to find a new way to approach it. The same way that you have to find a new way to approach your hobbies and interests. And if it's something you're still interested in right now, you should rediscover what that is for you. Because there's still danger, but it's different, right?
I love that.
We should do that.
I love that. And actually, but see, now I have a new passion in the wildlife stuff.
Yeah, so
which is where I think like a lot of that energy that went into skateboarding has now kind of been able to just transfer over to...
You channeled it.
Yes.
Okay.
And I find the same or even maybe greater satisfaction in this now. So
let's find
that's a totally different.
So let's find that. So skateboarding, you peak after your mission. You're in college skateboarding. You have a local shop. You start studying in school. There's like a when does Tawny come into the picture? And then when does the hobby come in? So we have like a journey to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's a big part of your life. That's the biggest part of your life, I would say.
It is the biggest like non-family, non-work part of my life for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll try to kind of be succinct. Like, I started going to college. I started up in Salt Lake at the time it was LDS Business College. Mm-hmm. I was too poor to even go to the U. I didn't have very much money.
It's called Ensign College.
Now it's called Ensign College.
Okay.
So I got my associate's degree there. I had started dating a girl that was going to BYU, and
BYU proper in Provo.
Yeah,
the big dog on the hat. Oh.
And I happen to be wearing this hat today. I didn't. Sorry to any Ute fans. It's okay. We can.
It's a good logo. It looks nice.
It's probably my favorite of their different logos. But so started dating a girl that was going down there. And I would tease her because I grew up a Utah guy, right?
Really?
And so she convinced me to come down there and visit her, and I started being like, okay, BYU is actually pretty cool. It's not like I grew up in Salt Lake, and I was always told everybody around me told me to hate BYU. I'm like, and then
what did you find cool about it? Just out of curiosity.
Well, maybe cool is not the right word. I just there's a pretty special spirit down there on campus. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but like it's a special place.
It's got kind of a unified goal. Like everyone there is striving for something.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I
mean, it is contrary to what maybe some people might say. Like it's a pretty. I mean, there's a lot of homogeneity to it, but at the same time, a ton of diversity. And even within the homogeneity, it's like there's a lot of different people, and you just have to look. I mean, you can, if you look at any group of like similar people, you can like stamp generalizations and stereotypes on them, but when you dig deeper, you see the individuality and you see the diversity and you see. So like I was always just taught to, all my friends growing up, 90% of them were Utah families, right? And so
it was just culturally normal to hate.
Yeah, and I always planned on going to the U.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of developed where I was like, maybe I should consider trying to go to BYU instead. And then not to mention the tuition.
And this was the girl kind of pulling you that direction.
Yeah, she kind of. Admittedly, she definitely influenced my open-mindedness. And then, so then all of a sudden I found myself like, oh dang, I just got accepted to BYU. Okay, I guess I'll just go to BYU.
What did your parents and like friends think?
My parents, they're not like huge into sports, and I think a lot of times the athletics is what kind of. The athletics is what sort of drives a lot of the like discourse, the antithetical narratives. You know what I mean? It's like
look at you, antithetical narratives.
Well, it's just it's like there's if you subtract athletics from the picture, it's like they're just higher education.
They're just teaching math, science, English.
Like, there's really, I mean, there's obviously the religious element. We don't need to go into that, but it's like it's a higher education institution offering a lot of the same things that any other place would, including the University of Utah. And it's like there's a purpose for it, and it's a great education. And so anyway, I just kind of found myself like, all right, as soon as I got accepted, I worked hard to like get to a position where I thought I had a chance, and I did get accepted. And I was like, as soon as that happened, once again, going back to, okay, we're kind of tying back.
I like the looping in.
Yeah, we're going back to some threads here.
Yeah.
The pathway opened, and it was like, oh, okay.
Oh, it made sense to you.
It was with complete clarity.
Okay.
And this is what I'm saying to you is that like a lot of times, for me personally in my life, it's been like, it's not always crystal clear. And sometimes it's like there's some muddiness and there's some uncertainty. But like in those key moments, those key pivotal moments when it feels like I'm about to make a massive decision, there arrives a really clear window of decision that it's like, this is what I'm supposed to do.
And is it like when you're
the clouds open and it's like, okay,
Simba.
Boom. Yeah. And those, I think everyone in one way or another like has those moments.
Is it when you stop motion, when you stop and stay still, like figuratively or literally? Is it when you like are in between two things and you've got solace and time?
I think it's that. Yes, all of that.
Okay.
I think it's like you have kind of that abyss in between two chapters. But there always seems to be a bridge of certainty that kind of materializes itself.
But is the abyss like is it something you're afraid of that you have to go?
It's uncertainty.
You evade that, or is it find you?
I think the abyss just kind of comes through there are a lot of like little abysses. There, when you get up, I don't know if you've ever been to, you've been down to like Angel's Landing or or if you've ever been to some of the Narrows or just down in the desert. There's all sorts of caverns and cliffs and it's like sometimes you get to a spot where you look down and it's like
1,000 feet.
It's just 1,000 feet and and some like Angel's Landing, you have to kind of leap from rock to rock. But I'm just saying, I think in life you kind of come to these these points where you have to kind of leap over one of those cliffs. And
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice when the when the decision becomes clear. So that's what happened with going to BYU. It's just like, all right, okay.
She's there, so you end up arriving there with her. kind of.
And I don't want to dwell too much on her. Huh? She ended up marrying some other guy, which worked out just great.
That abyss is behind us.
Yeah, but honestly, I'm grateful for that because that like influence and relationship kind of paved the way for me to then end up at BYU and then eventually meet my wife and my life now is the sum of, you look back at the path and again, I can see where like, okay, that door opened and this door opened and that door opened and you just sort of.
It has a lot of meaning when it's that way because it feels.
Well, and I think that's the point.
Yeah.
Not to get too like philosophical or theological, but I think we are supposed to look back on our lives and learn from the hard things, the good things, and feel like we accomplished and feel like we overcame.
Well, to your point of the scars, you're like, I have this, I have that, I have this, I've got to be careful. Those are just reminders of risk, but they don't prevent you from doing, right? And I think that's such an interesting insight is you become more self-aware with every single abyss you overcome. You traverse, but you also have that clarity to then act accordingly, but it gives you it's like building blocks to 100%. Just keep going. Yeah. I don't know what my metaphor is, but it's moving.
No, I'm tracking. I like it.
Yeah. So
building blocks.
So Tani comes in the mix. So this is what I got to. How did you guys meet and how did this happen? Because Tani's got such a fun-loving personality. You guys are a perfect match if someone ever meets you guys. But she's also got her own special interests. She's such an interesting person. She likes all of her own things. Yeah. Which would cross over, like the travel one, which I think, right?
Yeah.
But give us the story. How did you guys meet?
So the kind of the quick version, because there's a long version that just doesn't need to be part of this. But so we were both teaching Spanish at the MTC down in Provo.
Really?
But I didn't know her. We were in different zones.
That could be a whole podcast by itself.
It's a pretty it is a fun story. Yeah. Truthfully, but she was teaching. I was teaching. She was actually like graduating, and then I was I was
ahead of you in school.
Just like a couple semesters, yeah. But they were opening up the Mexico City Missionary Training Center. So there was
in Mexico.
So the church owned a high school called Benemérito de las Américas, and it was a big, prestigious, like private church-owned high school.
In Mexico?
In Mexico City, what? And all the kind of well-to-do LDS Mexican families would try to send their kids to this school. It's like a big deal. Like it had been around for
It's like their
decades.
BYU down there.
Kind of, yeah. You could say that.
Interesting.
Like high school age BYU type situation. Okay. And so the church decided to convert that into a missionary training center. And so they kind of opened it up and said, "Hey, we need some of the teachers from Provo to go down and train these Mexican teachers on how to be MTC teachers." And I was actually
dude, this story is wild.
Yeah, no, it's fun. So I was actually going to go down and be like a training coordinator, like a full-time kind of higher position. But then I got this opportunity to go intern for the Peruvian government in Los Angeles. I know that doesn't even sound real.
Where am I?
Just saying that out loud sounds so weird. But I did. I went down to LA and I lived in South Central, and and then a couple buddies came down for their internships, and we ended up moving into a little apartment in Westwood by UCLA.
What?
But
this all happened, Pat. This is real.
This was all like...
This is true history.
Yes. Fact check me. Go talk to Tani.
I believe it. This is wild.
I go down to LA, but so instead of taking like that training coordinator position, I just said, "Hey, I'll just be like a normal teacher. It's okay." And they worked it out with me, or they were very flexible with me and allowed me to... I got to kind of choose when I could go down. So I went to LA for 4 months, came home for 1 day, and flew straight to Mexico City. And I was actually dating a different girl than the one I mentioned earlier.
I didn't know any of this.
I know, dude. It's wild. And she happened to also be going down there. So
to train as well?
Okay, I'm going to give you kind of the medium version of the story.
You were working that MTC circuit.
Well, that's what it sounds like. But Yeah.
I was in the wrong circuit, man.
Well, I don't know. I think I just was like, I didn't have enough time, so I'm like, I'll just date who's convenient. But no, that sounds mean to Tani. But no, so
To get you in trouble.
no, she'll laugh. She always tells this story, and she makes it. So I was dating this girl. I hope she never watches.
All of a
this,
sudden, the
by way.
podcast just cuts.
Yeah, you might need to chop some.
It's just over, and that's it, folks.
This episode is not about my former girlfriends, but it's all personal history, you know.
It helps the story move along. Yeah.
Well, so I'm gonna speaking of move along, I'm
here for it. Yeah.
We were like kind of semi-dating. I went down there. She actually was like starting to kind of date other guys, and so I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna focus on my job, which was great, dude. It was so fun. It was
the MTC in Mexico.
Oh, it was like
what a wild
some
ride.
of the best memories of my life. The president of the MTC was this young dude. His name's Sean Cates.
Okay.
He just finished being mission president in Costa Rica, but
okay.
he was like 30. He was like late 30s, and dude had 5 kids.
What?
But just salt of the earth, super good dude. But he was I was shocked how flexible he was with us. Like, we could rent cars and road trip around the entire. Like, dude, I went to like 6 different states. I went to Querétaro, San Luis Potosí, Hidalgo. Like, I was going all over the place just in rental cars on my weekends off.
Is that where you found your love for travel? Was it that moment?
I think I already kind of had that like brewing in the background.
But you traveled before?
But I didn't have a lot of money. I'm not a rich guy now, but like I'm an adult with a big boy job, and
we're on the same boat.
I have means.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable.
This economy.
Yeah, but no, it's just like as a 20 whatever. Like I didn't have. You know, I grew up in a really nice neighborhood, but my parents didn't have a lot of extra money. Like four kids
stretches everyone thin, I think.
Yeah, and just that's kind of a.
Yeah.
And I love my parents, and they did the best they could with what they had, and I'm so grateful for their sacrifice. And I learned a lot from that. That's kind of a different. We could for my own posterity, we could make 10 of these episodes, and I would go into different tangents.
I love it. You should be doing this on your own, just cause.
I really should.
Just turn a camera on and just go.
Just journaling, honestly.
Because you're naturally good at telling the stories.
Oh, thanks, man. It's good. It's kind of cathartic to like go back. It's fun. It's fun.
Healthy. It's healthy.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for the opportunity. This is so cool that you do this.
I love doing it.
Yeah.
I'm truly interested in what you're saying.
No, it's great, and it's just even cooler that like we were friends before this, and so it makes.
I feel like I didn't know you.
For anybody that
I didn't know this
is
guy.
like thinking about do this, even just for yourself, you know, because like I'm grateful that I have a platform to just tell my story for myself. I don't care who watches
it very
it.
often. You tell it to yourself all the time, but who hears it?
Dude, it's so cool that you're doing this. So
you're driving all over Mexico.
Dude, we were going to all these waterfalls and like just the most amazing.
What was the coolest thing you saw there?
Oh, there's a waterfall deep in the mountains, in the Sierra Gorda, and
the fat Sierra.
There's a town called Jalpan, and there's just these amazing waterfalls outside of it, up in the mountains. Like now they're a little bit more popular since Instagram has kind of ruined all these little gems. But at the time, it was like you drive down this sketchy mountain road. Like I'm talking probably 15 miles down this sketchy road.
It's like 2011. This happened.
This would have been. Good question.
2010.
No, this was like 2014.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you met Tony. Okay.
No, sorry, 2013. This would have been 2013.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Well, for example, we're going down this road, and then you get to this tiny little village, and this grandma comes out, and she's like, "Son 5 pesos para entrar." You know, like it's 5 pesos to just hike this little waterfall, and then there's just this. You hike up this rugged canyon, and there's these amazing waterfalls, crystal blue water.
Can you swim in them?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can you swim in them?
I mean, there's parts where you can swim, yeah.
Wow.
And there's just these big limestone structures with like moss dangling off of them. And
dude, I feel like we're there right now, dude.
It's so. Like, I'll show you some pictures after, but it's so cool. But
send them to me. I'll put them in the video.
Sure. Yeah. So we did stuff like that, and I started getting to know Tani, my current wife.
Was she with you guys doing that?
Yeah, so like
She was traveling with you.
we would get in these little groups and just go do these road trips, man.
Dude, what a way to meet somebody.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I feel so lucky. It was so fun. And it was kind of cool because like the last relationship I had just didn't really end. Like
Kind of petered out a little bit.
it just kind of was. It was sort of just like a disappointing. Actually, the previous two were just sort of like disappointing endings. You know what I mean?
You weren't second guessing yourself. You're just like, it wasn't the right.
Yeah. Well, it got to the point where, I don't want to like say too much out of respect for these people,
yeah.
but Tawny was down there. We were both down there, kind of on our separate paths. We met, became friends first, which was really, I think,
Important, I'd say.
Important.
Yeah.
and just started like we would just talk every day at lunch and just, and she kind of had a crush on this other dude, and I was kind of like crushing this girl.
Let's see, kind of like gossip to each other.
A little bit, and sort of a little bit of
you see that,
a little
professor?
bit of commiseration.
Can you believe that they're saying the conjugation's wrong?
Yeah, it was really kind of a fishbowl down there. To be honest, it was.
Yeah.
It was kind of. It was a unique dynamic. Like
one thing I'll say is like you've had so many specifically unique things where you're like you're right. There's like an energy that pulls you in, but then you become like entrusted as an ambassador of that thing. So you win people over, I think. Like I think it's like there's not just coincidence. This is happening too consistently.
I've never thought of it that way, but
Yeah.
when you put it into words that way, it feels like that, and that's
Like people trust that you can represent them well.
thanks, man.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly
Yeah.
sure what you mean by that, but I appreciate
People would
that.
genuinely trust that you'll have their best interests.
I try,
I believe it.
life is hard. Life is hard, I think, overall. It's great, but it's hard, and people deserve the benefit of the doubt,
Right. Right.
And yeah, I mean, I just think there's a lot of good in every person.
But
And some people let the bad show more than the good, but like most people have a lot of good in them, and you just have to try to focus on that.
When you look at like a company, like they're entrusting their brand on you, representing them. They're like, this guy we trust with our brand. They put tons of effort into that. If Mountain Dew is an example. But then you look at like the MTC, they didn't just choose anyone to go down and do that. They're trying to establish a new market to train down there. They're sending their best people, right? It's like you're representing the best, and you're striving for that, right?
Thanks, man.
So it finds you because you want that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
a cool
haven't
thing.
really ever thought of it that way, but that I mean, that
Because you might be like in a rabbit hole, like I want to do that, but meanwhile you've dug the best hole. Like it's the best place to find the gold, right? Like there it is, right?
Man,
Rabbits search for gold in this.
Some good. You're giving me some real thought-provoking material.
You lay
here.
in bed at night. What did I do?
Dude, no, this is no, in a great way. It's like, I don't know. I think sometimes you get so caught up in just the day-to-day of life that like stopping to kind of synthesize things into a deeper level of meaning is tough to do.
Yeah, having a soundboard moment's important.
Yeah.
And I want to be that soundboard so you can see what's going on. That's good.
Well,
Yeah.
you're doing a great job of that. So, you're sitting here buttering me up, but like, it's cool that
Well, you're telling great stories. So,
I'm sure half the people checked out after like 3 minutes of skateboarding.
You'd be surprised at how long people stay. Yeah,
if you're still here.
Numbers people kick around the whole time. It has like the numbers, the graph, if you're curious, it like has like an initial like peak, and then it has like a consistent line that never stops.
There's the 10 people that just want to watch every second.
I don't know what. So here's the thing: when I'm making content like this, people don't leave once they like it. Like I made spin bike videos. You can go look at those. They're on there. They're terrible, but like people stay the entire time. I don't get it. Like I would leave.
Awesome. That's awesome.
If I'm listening to myself talk, I should be talking.
No, dude. There's. Well, you're creating value. To some people, the value will be different to every person. But to some people, there's value.
You represent somebody who can't translate their thoughts well, and you are. And they're like, that guy is saying what I feel in words. Yeah. Yes. And that's it.
And it's interesting to just hear how people think and what they want to say.
Oh, yeah. It's fascinating.
Now we're almost like, we're just getting into this Inception thing here. So
we start stroking our beards. We have like robes on.
We're waxing philosophical right now.
We're just two old men.
We're 35 acting like we're 65.
So
you
guys are becoming friends and you're chatting.
we're becoming friends. And I I just started seeing her. I started seeing her differently because initially I was like, I was attracted to her. Yeah, I was attracted to her, but I'm like, I'm kind of like into this other girl, and she was into this other guy, and so we just sort of did our thing. But then, just to speed that up, we ended up working it out so that we did a little stint in Costa Rica after, like we ended our time at the MTC.
Wait, you and Tani?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but we were still just friends. We went down with these other two teachers. Yeah. So the four of us just like toured around Costa Rica for 10 days. Wow. And it was awesome, dude. It was a lot of fun.
Costa Rica is...
Have you been?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Dude. I want to live there. Again, dude, if I didn't live in such a great place here in Suncrest, I would want to live
I was in
Costa Rica.
a river coming out of a volcano, I couldn't believe it was a real place.
Yeah.
It was absolutely heaven on earth for me.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So we like went and had fun down there, came back. While I was there, I told her like, hey, I would like to take you on a date when we get home. Like,
when did you say this? Was it on the plane?
In Costa Rica.
Oh.
At night, like before we were getting ready to, retire for the evening, or we were out messing around on the beach, and then we went back late, and I just told her, like, I think it was the last night. She was about to fly home. I was going to Nicaragua.
So do you have a moment of clarity before you said that, or was it kind of just like a... Hey.
Kind of, yeah. It was like, really? I knew, because she thought I was still into the other girl. So I was like, I wanted to communicate to her, hey, I've had a lot of fun with you the last several weeks, and like I'm really interested in you. Like, let's get together when I get home. I want to take you out. So yeah, we got back.
What was her reaction though when you said that? Because that's a big thing.
She was down. She at that point there was definitely mutual interest.
But you didn't kiss or anything. You were just like,
no, not yet.
Still in mission mode a little bit.
Yeah, I got these chaplets, dude. Like in the winter.
Oh yeah, my whole face, dude.
Yeah,
everything.
That's like my one
hands.
thing.
Look,
these dry Utah winters.
The soap got in my hand. They're like stained purple. I'm like a what do you call it? I don't know. I'm an Oompa Loompa. They're not purple.
Yeah, but like no, we didn't kiss down there or anything. We came back. I took her on a couple dates, and then
not that you have to kiss till marriage. You can wait. You can wait. BYU, you could have waited.
I just mean like there wasn't any real like romance. It was all just kind of the subtle tension of like, I'm really into this person.
Like Jim and Pam on The Office.
Yeah.
You're like,
sure.
Like that kind of energy?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
You're like, I don't know.
And then, we like, it didn't take long for us to officially start dating. And then like within 8 months of being home, we were married.
Oh, you got married. So did you graduate college?
And realize like I was graduating. She had just graduated.
Oh, you're finishing school.
We were 25. Like we were both to a point where it was like we were ready. We both want to start a family.
25 feels old when you're 25, by the way.
Yeah, well, especially
you're not
in
old,
like the Utah Mormon culture, it's like 25.
Like Grandpa Pat.
Yeah, and I didn't necessarily feel that external social pressure per se. I just like had an internal desire to start a family. So it wasn't that I was like, you kind of hear this cliche of like, oh, you're so like I didn't really care about what anybody else thought. I was just ready to like settle down.
Because I was like, for a bit, I was like, after the mission, I was frantic. I was like,
really?
I gotta find people.
How old were you when you got married?
23.
23. Yeah, dude, it's great.
Yeah, which I thought was a long time. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
25 was like.
Well, you know what is funny, and I'll say this.
It isn't now, but then it was. Yeah.
I'll say this. I love my life.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change. Like I feel like everything in my life has happened for a purpose, generally speaking, right? And I wouldn't change anything about my life. It is kind of fun sometimes to think back and be like, I mean, you can't dwell on it too much because I think that's unhealthy. But sometimes it's fun to think like, okay, what if I had dropped out of school and moved to California and tried to be a pro skater?
Yeah.
What if, or just like, not even just that, but what are all the things I could have done? Like knowing now what I know about the world and just how much I love to go see different parts of the world.
Yeah.
And Tanya and I did a really good job. Like we traveled a fair amount before we had kids, which I think was great.
Your job even like encouraged it.
Yeah. My job at the time would pay to send us on a great trip every year. That was phenomenal.
To do what he's doing.
It was great, man. Yeah, those were good times. But like, I wish I would have done. I'll put it this way: in the period of time after my mission to marrying Tawny, I wish I would have found more ways to get out and see different parts of the world.
Right.
But it's hard, you don't have a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of money. I had to kind of stay focused on my goals, and so, but like if I could have the same outcome but go back and do a couple things different, I would probably travel more on my own. I think
like solo, like a nomad.
Yeah, I think so. Like before my mission, I went to New Zealand for 2 months and just lived on a farm for 2 weeks, and.
Where are you finding these opportunities?
Dude, we've moved on. Yeah, I'm kind of reaching back, but that was awesome, dude. And I wish I would have, Tawny and I just did our 10-year anniversary trip to Europe.
Wow, and congrats, by the way.
Thanks, man. And like Switzerland, have you been to Europe? Yeah,
my work's there.
Yeah, so like all those places,
twice
man.
A year.
oh, poor you.
Well, it's more fun when you're not working.
They're in Switzerland?
Uh-huh. Oh, dude, McDonald's is so expensive there.
Yeah, everything is so expensive, but
I was like, I can't believe this gas station food's break. Yeah, it was crazy.
I would have loved to just go backpack Europe but now it's great. Now I do fun things with my wife, but it's hard to get away from.
But that's one of those maybe you have these short-term and middle-term draws. Maybe that's a long-term draw where you are going to do that.
Oh, yeah.
With your kids or with Tawny when you're like empty nesters or something.
That's honestly that's my biggest motivator. It's like I don't really care. Like I love my house. Don't get me wrong, it'd be nice to have $100 million, right? But like for me, my motive, like what motivates me is obviously it's a number of things, but
the core that makes you run.
I want to be able to like
the fuel,
take my family wherever, whenever, and do whatever we want. Like that to me, that's freedom. That's
being able to say we're going to go see this. We're going to see the Wall of China.
Go see this and have this experience as a family, and it's going and just knowing it's going to be special. Like,
did you do that as a kid ever? Was that something that
not really? No. My parents didn't have a lot of like disposable income. We would go to the beach in South Carolina every few years when they could afford it, but pretty much all of my international travel has been just kind of me making it happen.
So there might have been some kind of like, as a kid, it's something you didn't have, and now you want to make sure people have it around you because it's such a precious thing to have.
I think that's safe to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really
I just learned that about myself. Yeah.
That's a very good thing to know.
Yeah. I mean, I just think, dude, everyone liking travel is not unique to me. 95% of people enjoy travel.
They like it for like different reasons, like food and which is a part of it. But there's something deeper there that's pushing you to do it.
Yeah.
It's freedom.
I think freedom.
Yeah. That's such a great driving force. Yeah.
Like
you can't buy that.
So have you done you're right.
Yeah.
Have you done so do you go out like on solo? Do you go out on your own to work trips in Switzerland or whatever?
Periodically I have to go.
Do you ever take a few days and just go like wing it and do whatever for fun?
Yeah. I'll like
So how do you feel when you like what is that experience like for you?
I feel like it's like have you done improv comedy before?
No, as you can tell, I'm not very funny on the fly.
You'd probably be pretty good at it because it's when you mentioned like I love to find the risk.
Yeah.
Right? Public speaking with no script is like the ultimate thrill because there's a high probability you're going to fail.
Yeah, you might look like a total idiot.
Would you walk out on a stage right now in front of 10,000 people and do some talk?
Well, it's funny because
you wouldn't, right? Or you would. I don't know.
I was at a BYU basketball game like 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I was with my son, and I'm like, they're doing warm-ups. This is relevant. Yeah. They're doing warm-ups, and I'm down there. I usually like all the people with really nice seats. They wait until the last second and go sit down.
Yeah, they come out of the little basement dwelling eating area.
Yeah, exactly. They got to look all special. Yeah. So my seats are like my season tickets are up in the nosebleeds. So I go down. We're watching the warm-ups. I'm on my phone, and this girl comes up to me, and she's like, "Hey," and she's got her, she's an employee. Mm-hmm. She's got her microphone on and all that. "Hey, do you want to participate in our like halftime activity?" And it just caught me off guard. Like I was like responding to a work message or something, and it caught me off guard. And I'm with my cute little 6-year-old son. He's all excited to be there. And I just kind of like, I don't know if it was my insecurity or what, but normally, you know, you watch those things and you're like, dude, I could make that shot, or I could.
Look at these
dinguses I froze and I was like, well, what's the activity? Like, what's the...
Oh, you didn't say yes. You were like...
I had to screen it. I was like, because I just wasn't in the mindset to like go be a spectacle in front of 19,000 people. That's the largest college basketball arena west of the Mississippi, dude.
That's pretty freaking big.
That's a lot of people.
19,000 people.
You just said 10,000. It's like...
You just upped it. You
got
doubled it.
You got 19,000 people. And granted, you know, half of them are at the Cougar Tail stand buying halftime treats. But during halftime, they're still...
Circle back.
Yeah, they're playing those dumb games on the Jumbotron. But like... It was kind of frightening. And I'm like, oh, what if I make a fool of myself? Or what if I missed a shot or whatever? So I'm like, okay, what's the activity? And honestly, if it were, I probably would have done it even if it were the shots. But it took me a second to sit and be like, do I want to do this? Do I want to go?
Yeah.
Like, do I want to be in the spotlight? Because even though I'm fairly comfortable doing this, like, I think I am not really...
You're good at this, by the way.
I don't love the spotlight. I know it might... I don't love the spotlight. Like I think everyone has a little bit of insecurity. Everyone has a little bit of self-consciousness of like, what am I going to look like? How am I going to sound? That's human nature. I think if you don't feel at least even a degree of that, you're probably a sociopath. You know what I mean? Like,
you're not enjoying anything. Yeah. You're just weirdly existing.
You enjoy it and you're good at it, but you're not a sociopath. You're just more comfortable with the risk. Or
I like the ride.
You're more comfortable with the ride.
It's like surfing for me.
Yeah.
Like there's like a wave. I'm trying to find it. Great conversation once you catch it, and then it just takes you into these great, interesting pockets of thought.
Yeah.
Because no one's allowed in your brain unless you let them in, and then you get to share what you know. But to your point, the risk, the screening it. So if I'm traveling to complete that circle of thought, the reason I bring up the public speaking to begin with is it's off script. And when you're in a different place and you travel and you're there, nothing is your story, right? And then all of a sudden you're no longer the main character. You're no longer the main act. You're no longer the spotlight. You're a passenger in someone else's story. And that's so phenomenal because like if you go sit down and watch a great movie, I don't know if you like film.
Yeah.
But if you watch like a Christopher Nolan film and you sit down and you enjoy the whole thing, you're a passenger of someone's great story. And like being a passenger is such a privilege. It's such a privilege to be able to sit down and participate in a campfire storytelling session where people truly want to learn and know and feel the emotions and the feelings. So when you're traveling, you're getting a taste of that automatically. It's like going to a cold plunge and feeling cold. Like it's an automatic response. Yeah. So it's a guarantee you're going to have some type of experience. Even if it's good or bad, it's still real. And that's amazing. So like I completely agree. I've traveled a bunch and like it never gets old. Work is work. You know, that's on script.
Yeah.
But when you're off script and there's like just something real happening, man, I love that. I love that feeling.
Amen.
Yeah.
I love what you said about being a passive character.
Yeah,
being a passenger. But like at the same time, when you go on those little solo excursions, those little side quests or whatever, you kind of do become. It's almost like being James Bond, man. The reason this even came up in the first place was if I could keep my same life but go back and do some things differently, I think I would have done some more like solo. I would have loved to just go backpack Europe for a few months I would go down to the Amazon rainforest and just live in a little lodge for 6 weeks, dude. Like I would love to go back in time and do that. But see, I plan to do that in the future.
I think the fact that it's such a deep driving it's fueling your reason to do. I think it makes the things you're doing worth doing.
Absolutely.
It makes you feel like fulfilled every day. You're like, I'm working towards a goal. Yeah. And it's rare to have that. I mean, you think everyone has that same drive, that same passion, but it's rare to have that self-awareness. And the fact that you have even a sampling of it, like you got like a Costco sampler of sorts, where you got to see what your driving forces are and then live for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really interesting. Because like some people, like the guy that's still skateboarding, you know, his thing is still skateboarding.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, and it brings him a lot of fulfillment. But it does seem like, I don't know. You have to like life changes and people change throughout life.
Look at me.
But Well, hopefully, I think you keep the good parts of yourself, right? But then you kind of like, you grow out of things, you mature.
Right.
But then you also like you become a kid again about new things, you know?
Yeah. And you have I'm interrupting you. Sorry.
No, please.
You have something that I'll say that the viewers, if you meet Pat, you kept the childlike wonder intact. And it's hard to find that in yourself if you've lost it. So how did you keep it?
I definitely am a giant kid.
How do you keep it?
That's a good question, man. I don't know. Everybody's passionate about different things, and so maybe I think it'll help if I kind of if I explain more, like get into the wildlife stuff.
Please, that's what I want to get. That's what I finish on.
I think
that's a big part of the. Is it the ATV, that whole thing? Is there more to it?
No, not so much that. Well, I mean, that's a fun part of like.
It's a small part of it.
Being out in the outdoors doing anything is fun for me. But so whether it's on an ATV or hiking or.
Well, that's all I know of it. Is like you were like, Jordan, come with me and find these things. I'm like, what is he doing? I got flashlights. I was like, what is? Yeah.
Well, so growing up.
Yeah.
So this is like a big part of who I am. So it's probably if we need to like wrap this up, this is probably a good.
It's your call. I'm good.
No, it's a good.
This is the full picture.
It's a big part of like my identity, I guess,
okay.
and what drives me and what makes me tick. So growing up, I had really good Boy Scout leaders, like the kind that we would do awesome high adventure outings every year, multiple.
Wow, multiple.
I mean, we'd go up into the Uintas, and then we'd go down to San Rafael Swell, and then we'd go out to Green River, and then we'd go I saw a ton of Utah as a scout, which also kind of fuels my I'm really interested in geography.
Okay.
I love geography. I'm above average at geography. I'm not saying I'm some world expert, but like I have a buddy who's really, shout out to Paul Sadler. Have you ever heard of the game GeoMapper?
It's like an online game.
GeoGuessr.
Right?
Basically, it shoots an image of somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
And it's typically on a road.
Yeah.
But it's like, just by the image, you have to guess where in the world you are.
Yeah, it's
a fun game. It's really hard. And you can do different levels. Like if you're on easy, it'll put you right in front of the Eiffel Tower, but if you're on hard, it'll take you to like some remote dirt road in Senegal. And you're like, okay, I think this looks like Africa, but we're going to have to narrow this down. And you can move but anyway, like I enjoy that type of stuff. I enjoy geography. I enjoy, like I could probably name most of the counties in Utah and most of them in Arizona. And
does that come naturally to you? Like it just kind of pours in and you absorb it?
Yes, and because I'm interested in it. Yeah. I'm not that smart when it comes to like stuff. When it comes to things I'm not interested in, I'm not very smart.
Like a plateau versus a ravine, like you don't care.
But things that I am interested in, I really dive in and I try to sponge it up. But so I just grew up being in the wilderness a lot, and in the wilderness you start to notice details. You start to notice vegetation and wildlife,
grass types, and
that
grows out of the water. Oh, cool.
Yeah, and you just you start to become more in tune with the minutia and the details of the environment and of the habitats and the ecosystem. And I just became really fascinated. I would go to all these different places. I'd go to 9,500, 10,000 feet in the Uintas. And then, like I said, we go down into the San Juan Valley with the desert plateaus. And it was like, I got exposed to all these different places. And along the way, I just became fascinated with the wildlife. And specifically, we'd be out. It's like, typical 10-year-old boy. We're catching lizards. We're catching snakes, frogs.
Yeah.
I just started to become really fascinated with the reptiles and amphibians especially.
Yeah.
And which, most people are afraid of snakes. I get it. There's like scientific reasoning behind that, by the way, psychological stuff.
But I grew up catching snakes and frogs and turtles, right?
Where?
Oklahoma.
Yeah, dude, you grew up in one of the best
Snapping
places
turtles,
in the
dude.
country.
I have a scar on my chest from a snapping turtle.
I believe it. Those
A
things
big
are
chunk,
beasts. Those things are nasty.
But on your side.
No,
so.
that's a great place to
Just saying,
live
I've
if
done
you're-
this.
If you're into the critters, you know. But then
But that you found them interesting.
my mom would put on Rescuers Down Under with the Australia characters, and it was like I would see the monitor lizard. I was like, man, that thing's so cool.
Yeah.
And I would just I just kind of became more and more interested and obsessed with them. But then that I kind of lost sight of that stuff. I mean, I always would catch. I grew up catching lizards and snakes, and I have a really good eye for it. Like if you put me and 10 other people to walk a trail, a hiking trail, I'm gonna notice more wildlife than probably all 10 of them. And I've been able to hear the little details and see the little, the lizards and the snakes, and so I was always the one catching all this stuff. But
catching it's also a whole art. And
catching
form
is
in
it's
itself.
one thing to see it; it's another thing to.
It's like
catch
it's like a skateboarding trick. Like catching a lizard is like landing a kickflip. It's a hard thing, but once you know how to do it, it's fun.
Yeah. Well, back to again. I think being a little bit like maybe self-deprecating to a degree. I think I do have a little bit of that that addictive personality of like this landing the skateboard trick, or I'm getting ahead of myself in the story, but like now I research species and I figure out where like I will identify target species and plan a trip around. Like I'm going to Suriname in March, and there's like 5 target species that I want to go find, and we're going to go look for those species. And so when we find those, that's a dopamine hit. That's a rush.
Because it's like it's like what I would say like a kid getting a Pokemon card, the Charizard. You're like,
I'm just a giant kid, dude.
It's like a kid. It's like collect. It's like that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's that same feeling.
Absolutely, and
Dude,
and
that's
I think
phenomenal.
I think everybody has. Well, a lot of people have hobbies like that. It's really not that different than a mountain biker that just wants to go
hunting.
ride Rush
People want to shoot
or Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah.
Or people want to shoot a deer with the bow.
I want to get a boar. Yeah.
Really, I mean, I think many hobbies share similar high level.
They have their peak, like where everyone wants to achieve that excellence.
Yeah.
And yours is niche species.
Yep.
That's super cool.
I spend my, obviously I try to have a good balance. Like I try to get my wife out on vacation, and I try, she's going to Amsterdam on a girls trip in January.
Oh, cool.
And I try to find a good balance, because it's, and frankly, it's like over the years, I know I've been judged by people, even friends and close loved ones, for sometimes like spending my time and resources often away from my family.
It's like a weekend though, right?
Yeah, a lot of times it's just, but some, like I've been to Africa twice on 10-day trips, and
looking for species. Mm-hmm. Wow, what species?
In Africa specifically, like vipers and adders.
Did you find them?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
What?
Oh yeah, man.
Dude, that's sick.
Yeah.
But you keep them alive, like you.
Oh yeah, it's just it's all about, it's two things. It's just mainly the experience of, like, we landed in Uganda at 4 a.m. We drove 4 hours to the hotel through like these little villages.
Yeah.
And then we eat breakfast, and then we drive 20 minutes out to a forest, and we start hiking. And like an hour later, I'm with this local dude, and we find this rhinoceros viper in this bush, and it had just tagged a rat. Like the rat was like still freshly killed, and we found our target species. That was like,
did you
one
pick
of the,
it up and like?
Yeah, I had a snake hook, and I can show you the picture after, but
yeah.
Maybe you can put it up in the little corner. I'll send you. Yeah, but like that's a photo I took, and the second part is photography. So the first part is the experience, the admiration of the animal, the opportunity to see it in the wild, because a lot of species are going extinct, and will in our lifetime.
Yeah, you're like a National Geographic guy. Like, that's like you're like That's like your
that would have
perfect
been
job.
my alternate.
That's like
ego.
the perfect like photog and special interest. Be Birds of Paradise. You'd be like, all right, here we go.
If people tell me
So
all the time,
you're that guy
I definitely could have been the guy that's like
in the hut, like,
sitting in the tree 135 feet up in Borneo waiting for the perfect shot of the orangutan. Like I could have.
So when you're watching those shows, do you feel like a deep connection with that person emotionally?
Yeah,
like,
I do.
I understand what he's going through.
Yeah, you watch Planet Earth and I'm like the camera guy, and
I want it.
I'm thinking, man, imagine swimming with that sea lion and watching it be hunted by a orca.
And then checking your battery level on your. Oh crap!
Yeah,
I'm in the water.
On a much smaller scale, I can relate to that. Yeah.
So is that like a more extreme version of travel then? Because you're kind of experiencing an even more off script, wild. We're talking wild. There's script, there's civilization, then there's wild.
Oh yeah.
Wild's the apex of that.
It is, and in that same Uganda trip, our guide, he had a phrase. This is like awesome Ugandan guy.
Yeah.
And he would always say, "You cannot dictate nature. You cannot dictate nature. Like there's no way to know what you're going to encounter, especially in Africa, dude. That place is wild. I mean,
it's pretty untamed. Like, it's mud, bogs, dirt roads.
Well, and just the wildlife.
I've never been there.
Like we're driving down the road, and all of a sudden there's a herd of elephants just crossing. Like, I mean, it's you really can't.
Oh man, that sounds crazy.
Being in a truly wild place where anything can happen with the elements and the inhabitants of the ecosystem. Like, dude, we took a riverboat tour, and it was like, we look off to the left and there's a Nile crocodile, like a juvenile crocodile, and then an adult Nile monitor lizard, and they're like squaring off and looking at each other.
No way.
And then the monitor lizard decides he doesn't want to fight, and he scurries up.
That's better than a movie.
And then we go 100 yards down, and there's like 30 hippos just congregated in the water, making all sorts of noises, snickering at each other. And then we go another like quarter mile down the lake, and there's another huge herd of elephants drinking and bathing in the lake.
So
and
it's like almost like TikTok, but like it's
real life.
It's better.
Real life.
That's like you're better. That's
my element, dude.
That's like your apex.
Yeah.
Have you looked at your family history? Do you see any of your ancestors being like Lewis and Clark guys? Like
no, but when I would read stories about those guys, like Leif Erikson, and like that inspired me, man. That inspired me.
Did your family settle Utah at any point?
Yeah, I have pioneer heritage.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah,
okay.
I definitely think there's something in the blood that's like,
There was some guy like your great grandfather. There gonna be snakes out there, dude. Let's go.
I don't know.
Let's go.
I don't know. But I found some cool snakes, man. I found some really cool frogs.
So you focus on a certain set of. Is there a certain area? So it's almost like music. Like you have instruments you like to play, but these are reptiles you like to find. Reptiles, number one.
Yeah, reptiles mostly. Snakes are my favorite. I just think.
Why snakes?
So there's like around 4,000 species of snake on the planet.
Is that a bucket list to get all 4,000?
Oh no, that's not going to happen.
Okay.
And a lot of them are going to go extinct before I have the chance, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Quite a few will. Like there's really critical habitat in Indonesia and in South America that's just constantly being encroached upon by illegal logging or mining or just deforestation, burning.
Right.
And so there's a lot of stuff that.
So it is fleeting to a certain degree that you can't do it all. Like but you have some that you hope you can capture.
Oh yeah. I have like kind of I've been able to knock a lot of them off.
How
thankfully.
many roughly? Is there a number you know? Do you have a tally?
I mean, I've seen.
You scratch it in your wall and you get back home.
I've probably seen in the several hundreds of snake species.
So are you in like the top % of people that do this hobby of skill? Because this isn't just a hobby; it's a skill. Like you've met people who do this.
Which, by the way, you would be surprised. There is a global community for this. For sure. I wouldn't say I'm not like famous in it, no, but I mean,
could you be an influencer in it if you started documenting it? Would you?
Well, I have a dumb little Instagram account that
You do?
You can follow. Yeah,
is it pretty big or is
it's not big? I have a few thousand followers on there, but people, there are people that have followed me for a while that appreciate what I do, that enjoy seeing the content of the animals I find, and I enjoy sharing it, right? Like, and for me, I've had people reach out. It's kind of funny.
You invited me, but I was like, I don't know.
I was still kind of like, so going back a little bit, I wasn't really fully into that. I didn't really have the resources to be as into it as I wanted to be, at least internationally.
Yeah.
But then I didn't even realize that was a thing that you could like go out and target a species and learn about it.
I didn't know that's what you were doing.
Yeah, I was learning that. And
I was like,
back
what are
when
you
we
doing?
met.
Yeah.
So it's really been about, I would say, I've been kind of like
Refining
neck deep in this stuff since my poor wife, probably like right after we got married is when I kind of like started to have a little extra money. And I was like, hey, it'd be cool to go to Indonesia. I've always wanted to go to Indonesia. And so we in 2015,
you package it that way so you could get to the snake there.
the year after we got married, I took my wife on
So funny.
an 11-day trip to Indonesia. And dude, we went and saw the Komodo dragons, which was like, that was my lifelong, growing up as a kid.
Dude, they're big. They're like 10 feet long.
They're huge,
Right?
man. They're
Yeah.
huge. They're dinosaurs.
Yeah.
They're literally they're
like
the
size of a
largest
couch.
non-crocodilian reptile on the planet.
Really?
Yeah.
Were they kind of scary to be around that big?
Yeah. I mean, they
can
hiss
kill you
and
with their tail.
We
They can,
watched
like,
one
whack
kill a pig and just like swallow a baby pig whole.
If it
Like,
bites you, the saliva kills you.
Yeah, the saliva is venomous. Yeah, nice job. So, or sorry, the saliva is poisonous. You could call them venomous because their saliva is poisonous. There's a difference between venomous and poisonous, by the way.
It's like, venomous is like a chemical
Typically
reaction.
injection.
And
like,
bacteria is a
venom is
different type.
typically injected into the bloodstream.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, and poison is typically ingested through like if you hold a poison dart frog and then put your hand on your eye or you lick your finger or something, then you would experience effects.
Do you like finding frogs then, or is it...
I do. I like it all.
Dude,
like I love going to
darts?
Costa Rica.
Man, have you found the little green one yet? The little tiny green one?
Yeah.
That was like my dream as a kid.
I mean, that describes you mean a poison frog or what?
Yeah, and they had like this like Boy's Life book, and there was like a little frog,
Green
that was
and black.
tiny. I was like, that'd be so. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
You found that?
Oh yeah, they're pretty common in Costa Rica.
Wow.
Those ones are pretty common.
Yeah.
There are some super rare.
Did you
frogs.
touch it or?
Yeah, you can hold them on your hand, but you just gotta wash your hands. Don't lick your hand or
You would die.
you would just probably get violently ill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you gotten sick then doing
No,
this?
not with frogs. No,
But
and I've
with
never
anything?
been bit by a venomous snake. But I'll handle them with hooks and
Knock on
stuff.
some
But
wood.
you want to harass them as little as possible,
Okay.
right? Especially the venomous ones. Like you don't need to be messing with those. But if there's a rattlesnake, I've seen a couple dozen species of rattlesnake, and if there's a rattlesnake in a rock and you want to pull it out for photos, you obviously have to kind of you have a moment of vulnerability. But here's the thing about it is you learn over time, you learn their behavior and you kind of understand how they operate.
They pick a language. They'll talk to you.
Yeah,
a little
and
bit.
even though
Yeah.
every individual is unique, they're not like super sophisticated, but rattlesnakes are surprisingly intelligent.
Really?
Yeah, rattlesnakes are very social animals. That's why like this is something relevant for anybody that actually lives in Suncrest that might watch this.
Yeah.
Like we have a bunch of rattlesnakes down in Corner Canyon.
Yeah, I've ran into them.
That's
like biking.
if there's anything that any of you local viewers take from this at all, if you're still watching, is like rattlesnakes just want to be left alone. They just want to be left alone. They're not out to bite you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to chase after you. If you encounter a rattlesnake on these trails, first of all, it's the only venomous snake we have in Utah is the rattlesnake. And we have several species of them, but if it doesn't have a rattle, it's not venomous.
Really?
Yep. So like gopher snakes, a lot of people often will mistake a big long gopher snake for a rattlesnake.
Yeah.
We have beautiful milk snakes, tricolor milk snakes. I can maybe send you a picture if you want to put it in.
Please.
But
yeah.
we have those here in the canyon, and people mistake those for coral snakes, and we don't have coral snakes in Utah.
Right.
Those are in Arizona and Texas and Florida. So
you find those behind your house, like
milk snakes are down here. I've found, in fact, my friend
Really?
RJ Nestman, he's a good dude, mountain bikes. He had a little baby milk snake in his driveway last year. Called me up. He's like, dude, I think I have a little milk snake here. And I came up and checked it out, and we released it down in the canyon. But yeah, so if you're biking and or hiking and you come across a rattlesnake, just stop, stay calm, get out of its way, let it, it'll get into a defensive position. Just let it slither off the trail or just alter your route a little bit, but you don't need to be afraid of rattlesnakes. Obviously, If you're stepping through tall grass, be cautious. But like, the chances of getting bit by a rattlesnake are really low. You have to be kind of negligent or ignorant.
Will you die if you get bit by one, or will you like?
The short answer is probably not. But there's a lot. It depends. Like, are you in good? Where did it bite you? Are you in good health? How did you? Did you panic? Did you get your blood moving really quickly? Did you immediately go to the hospital? You
elevate your leg, like whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do tourniquets. Tourniquets are not.
They don't work.
They're not helpful. No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, sucking out the poison's completely a wife.
That's also dumb. Yeah.
Stupid. Okay.
It's not effective. And I mean, I'm not a medical doctor, and I'm not a
you're well
professional. But like, dude, but just don't get bit. that's kind of the.
Got it.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to not have to worry about it. But yeah, it's fun, man. So I plan a lot of trips around it. I've been to the Amazon. I've been to a lot of cool places. I'm not going to sit and list it, but I've been to a lot of cool places looking for.
It's kind of combined your passion for travel with the passion for reptile.
I love food, and so I like to go, as you can tell. So I like to go. I like to go experience new food. I like to go. I like culture. I love the whole. So like, when people find out that I like snakes and I actually go out and look for them.
Well, they think you're hunting. They think you're hunting snakes.
Well, they just think it's kind of like skateboarding. It's like.
Yeah.
It's to a lot of people on the surface, it seems weird, or it seems maybe just kind of out of the mainstream. Like it's different, and it's almost like when I first started looking for snakes, most people that knew me and kind of learned about that were kind of like, okay, dude, you're gonna leave your wife and go look for snakes? Like, that's a little weird, man. But over time, I think a lot of my close friends have just realized, like, this is really no different than guys doing a golfing trip.
So Tani gets it. She 100% understands.
She is now. It took a few years for her to, like, we had to kind of figure out what the compromises were and just what the boundaries were and sort of what we can expect from each other. Communication is huge on that, and just setting expectations, right? And then like finding ways to support her in the things she cares about, which we're constantly in an effort to do that, right? Because I just have interests that are a little bit more extreme.
Well, I'd say people are probably jealous of your passion for.
Well, that's what I've discovered, and I don't want to sound.
It's not that they don't want you to do it; it's that they're jealous that they don't have that. Because I know what you're talking about.
I don't want to sound presumptuous or arrogant, but I have come to that conclusion that I think a lot of the people that like judge it or in the beginning kind of criticized it. I mean, I think there was maybe some legitimate concern. Like, her dad was kind of like, "What? You're gonna go down to the Amazon for?" And actually, that's a bad example because I took Tani to the Amazon. But like, what? You're gonna go down to Chihuahua, Mexico for 8 days and hike in the mountains looking for rattlesnakes and king snakes? It's like, yeah, that sounds insane.
And you camp you camp and everything on your own.
We at times, yeah, and or just like cheap hotel, whatever.
Yeah.
But I get that. I understood that concern because it's a weird hobby. It's not. It's unusual.
The more you explain it, the less weird it is, though.
Well, so it's like I said. Okay, think of 2 or 3 of your closest friends. Like, one of them probably likes to go golfing. Another one of them goes fishing. Another like it's really no different. It's just. And I ask people. They say, "You like snakes? That's weird." I'll say, "Do you like being outside?" Oh yeah. Do you like nature? Yeah. So I'm literally doing like most of the same things that the average nature enjoyer would do, but I'm just adding a real specific purpose behind it, and I'm doing specific activities on the side. But if you enjoy being outside, dude, I'm looking for snakes, which, by the way, I'll inform you. So herpetology is the study of reptiles.
Okay.
So
herpetology.
Like, herping has become kind of the shortened term for like field herping when you go out into it sounds like an STD, I know, but my friends tease me about that. Dude, you going to do herpes?
You got two hobbies.
But so like
skateboarding,
field herping. It's really just a more specific. It's a more intentional form of being outside.
Okay. It's actively being outside. It's not just outside. It's not just exercise, because people are like, get outside, run,
Yeah.
bike, whatever. Because I'll be outside biking,
Yeah.
but you're not really outside, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
You're
like,
on a machine.
I spend my winters looking at Google Maps, at Google Earth, and like picking out places I'm going to go explore.
You should do VR if you're doing that.
That'll be a thing,
Next
I'm
level.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the gist of it, man.
Yeah.
It's just, and it does, but back to your point, I think, aside from some of the valid like initial concerns and criticisms from some of my friends and loved ones, I think for some people I've had people tell me, and now after I've done this for several years now, and I've got some people that actually enjoy looking at, the things I find and learning about some of these animals, because that's a lot of it for me is about education.
So is this, and I'll draw a really easy parallel for people who still don't understand or don't get it, because I did this as a kid. Like I love doing this.
It's fun.
It's like Christmas when you find the green snake coming out. Like there it is, and you catch it. But like the crocodile hunter was doing exactly the same thing, and they were just recording him doing it.
Yeah.
Literally 1-to-1, right?
And why do you think 90% of little boys love watching that, dude?
Yeah.
What's not to love about watching a guy dive into a pond and yank out a freaking 7-foot crocodile?
What's cooler than that?
Like,
what is cooler than that, really?
And I do that stuff, man.
You do it. You caught alligators and stuff.
Oh yeah, I got pictures of me holding
love it.
6-foot
That's great.
vipers and little baby alligators and bear frogs, like that stuff. It's just, but I think it has kind of also gone beyond kind of this juvenile, like childlike, or this childish sort of hobby. It really has become just my way of connecting with the earth on a much deeper level.
It gives you meaningful purpose when you're doing the activity, but I think it just if you took you and packaged it up and shared you as a person, it's a perfect way to meet you. If it'd be your element, the best version of you, and having people doing it with you. Even it sounds like there's always people, and it sounds like your kids could start doing that with you.
They do.
They do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
my son especially, but they do. They enjoy it.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. Well, I feel like that's a good capture of Pat May here. Do you feel like I feel like that's a good?
Yeah, I think
a good round.
There's always more. I think we covered like the what you might take away is like, okay, this guy enjoyed skating as a young man, and
it's behind him now,
and now he enjoys chasing snakes and traveling around looking for
he lives just down the street
rare
from
animals, and I just live down here, and I run a little manufacturing company, and I'm a normal guy with some abnormal passions, some interests.
Well, that seem more normal the more you explain to them, the more normal they get. Like I want to go. I actually do. If you want to go, I'll go.
Dude,
I'll go.
I've never.
I'm not even kidding. I'll go.
I've taken a few people out, and I've never taken somebody and they didn't have a good time. It's all and even if we don't see much, it's like.
What you should do is like Airbnb. Have you tried that? The Airbnb.
What, my house?
No, the experience of going out and looking. What is it called?
Herping.
Herping.
So what do you mean? Like just staying in different Airbnbs?
So Jordan, did you watch Jordan Davis's episode on sourdough?
I kind of.
So he had
I kind of skimmed through that one.
He had
Sorry,
this
Jordan.
incredible insight.
He seemed like a really cool dude.
Well, he had this incredible insight on like his passion for sourdough was like a 1-to-1 to yours, like to your thing.
Cool.
But he likes it so much he does classes at his house for sourdough on Airbnb. I'm like, you could do the same if you wanted to get more, if you wanted to share it more.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to do that with that, but.
Well, there's some guys that'll host like trips and do that sort of thing. And I've been asked to do that a couple times, and I may at some point do it, but.
I think you should try it because you're getting people excited to do it.
Yeah.
But I would just walk outside and be like, I can't find anything.
It's really hard.
And then I'd walk back inside.
Well, it goes back to the skating thing of like persistence and tenacity and like self.
That's why. Okay.
Yeah, because dude, you could go. I mean, I have spent hours and hours, and I don't even want to tell you how much money and gas and time going out and looking for certain things, and a lot of time you don't find it.
You find like arrowheads or something. Or?
Yeah, but then the one time you go and you search at the right time, the right place, you kind of get lucky, and there it is, and it's wow, finally all that hard work paid off. And,
Really?
and then, you get your little trophy shot, you bust out your camera and it's like, all right.
So what camera are you shooting on?
Oh, dude, you got these nice rigs here. Mine is, it's seriously like.
Yeah, you knew exactly what these were. I was like, how does he know what?
No, you got some nice equipment. I'm just still rocking my old Nikon, but I'm getting ready to upgrade soon. My wife's like, you should probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I've kind
There's
of
some good options now. You can't go wrong with.
I'll pick your brain at another time.
Depends what's the most important thing.
I just do still shots, really.
You don't need to upgrade anything except for your lens if you're doing that.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Which I broke a lens recently, so I'm kind of just I gotta save up and get a really nice one.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Pat, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, man. It's been fun.
I still don't know how to end these things, so.
Just kick me out.
We're just that's how we're doing it. We're just doing it.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. If you're still here, come on the podcast.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
This was honestly, if no one gets anything out of this was a lot of fun for me to kind of reach back into the memory archives and.
Yeah, that's what I wanted you to do. For me, it's selfish to meet people. For you, it's great to talk about who you are.
I appreciate the opportunity. You're the man.
Thanks for coming on.
Good to see you, brother.